Hi everyone, Christina here. Welcome to another Simon Says Stamp video. This is another mail art video, and I thought I would be really smart this month and start out by penciling the area where the postage stamps will be. In the past, you may have noticed that I usually add the postage stamps last, and sometimes they overlap my artwork or they're not the right size or things like that. So I thought this time I would just head it off at the pass and make sure I have space for those. The envelope I'm using today is from Simon Says Stamp. This is their white heavyweight envelope, and I'm using the Hooray stamp set from Waffle Flower. This is a newer stamp set, and these images are so whimsical and playful. I thought they would be really fun for an envelope. I really like to use stamp sets like this that have lots of imagery and things like that, because I find them really easy to use on envelopes because I can customize where the images are, I can create my own scene, and then it gives me the opportunity to color the images as well. So I'm using my Misty stamp positioning tool to stamp a bunch of the images all at once. You could definitely do this with just an acrylic block. In fact, this last image I'm going to stamp, I used just a plain acrylic block, but I just wanted to get the placement of all of those and then stamp them all at the same time. And by the way, I am using some Versafine Onyx Black ink for the stamping. So I masked off just the one little portion of the cat's tail because that's where this flower stem will overlap it. And just to make it a little bit easier and not have to cut out a specific mask for just the cat's tail, I thought I would mask off the bottom of the flower area and then use a black pen and just draw in the bottom of the flower since it was such a simple shape right there at the bottom. I also stamped in a few little leaf images at the very bottom just to finish out the bottom edge of that scene. So I'm covering my work surface here with a craft sheet. This is from Ranger, and it's a slick surface that makes it a lots easier to do some ink blending in from the edge of your project. So I decided before I went any further, I better erase those lines because I didn't want the ink to be trapped, or I didn't want the ink to trap the pencil lines. So I erased those, and now I'm using some hybrid ink from Simon Says Stamp. This is just one of the smaller ink cubes, and this is in the color Lake Shores, and it's a really pretty blue shade. I'm using a Ranger mini round blending tool. It has a nice soft foam area, and I'm blending that color kind of down from the top edge of the card. So I'm going to do a bunch of coloring with colored pencils today, and I almost said watercolor. These were definitely not watercolor. And I'm going to speed up the video so you can see what I'm doing. I'm basically just taking a very light hand and coloring in very light layers. So here we go. So that finishes up all the coloring. And the next thing I did was I just placed those postage stamps back onto the envelope. They're not stuck down at this point. And I took a pencil and drew in sort of some wavy lines. And these lines are going to be my guides for when I write on the address for the recipient. And just a special note here that I always have to give in these videos, just in case you're new to any of these monthly mail art videos. The address I'm using today is a real address, but it has been voluntarily given to me to use for videos. So the person who gave me her address is fully aware that I'm using it in a video, and I just appreciate all of you who did give me your addresses for this. I have plenty of addresses to choose from, so I don't need any new ones right now, but thank you so much for sharing your addresses with me. So I'm using a pencil and just writing on her entire address because I didn't want to just go in with a pen and, run out of room or make a mistake. So then I went over it with this black pen. This is the same black pen that I used to draw the very bottom of that flower stem. This is from Pilot, and it's called an envelope addressing pen, which is kind of convenient. It's waterproof and it has a really nice fine point on it, so it's really great for addressing envelopes. So just finishing out the address, and then I'm going to flip the envelope around. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to erase all those pencil lines. I'm just using the eraser end of my mechanical pencil here and making sure all of those pencil lines are erased before I move on to the final steps. So I put my return address on the flap on the other side of the envelope. There was a room on the front of the envelope, but I decided I wanted a little more room for my address. And to finish off the envelope, you always want to do this as the very, very last step, because once you do it, you can't really make any changes. I added some Distress Microglaze, and this is kind of like it's kind of a weird consistency. It almost feels to me like, what is that cooking, like what you grease a pan with? What is that? The Crisco? It feels like that. And you just put a layer of it over the surface of your envelope using your fingertips, and then buff off the extra with a paper towel. And that pretty much kind of waterproofs your envelope. You do want to make sure you don't put that distress glaze over the postage stamps, however, because the post office does need to be able to cancel those out. So that is the envelope for this month. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll be back very soon with another mail art video, and thanks for watching.